Obviously, as a player, would I want him on this team next year? Yeah. Would he probably be the best option out of all the quarterbacks that are available? Yeah, 100%. But at the same time, you bring back Aaron Rodgers for 2025, that's a $60 million cap hit in 2026. We're going to be paying a lot of dead money no matter what. No matter what. I think it's best, when you bring in a new GM, Darren Moogie, he doesn't want to have no flexibility in these next few off seasons after he just took over this team. Aaron Glenn, apparently, according to Diane Rossini of The Athletic, she basically said, listen, Glenn went in there, met with Aaron Rodgers with Moogie, and they said, listen, you're not going on the Pat McAfee show. Like, if you're going to be the Jets quarterback, you're not running the show anymore. You're not making demands. You're not saying, I want Nathaniel Hackett and Nathaniel Hackett only. You're not saying, bring me Devontae Adams, bring me Allen Lazard, bring me Randall Cobb, just like last year. No, this is our team now. We're a team. We're not Aaron Rodgers show. So would I like Rodgers on this team next year as a player? Yeah. But there's a lot of things that come with Aaron Rodgers. And I think the biggest factor isn't even the Pat McAfee show. The biggest factor isn't him going to Egypt in training camp. It's not that, or OTAs. It's not that. The biggest factor is money. It's money. It's clear and simple. If the Jets bring back Aaron Rodgers even next year, even though they have a better chance at a winning season, do the Jets have a realistic shot at winning a Super Bowl with Aaron Rodgers? No. So then realistically, what's the point? If Aaron Rodgers was 35, if Aaron Rodgers had 4,000 plus yards, let's say even the same stats, if Aaron Rodgers was 35, I'd say, you know what? Yeah, let's roll the dice one more time. But with the money involved with Aaron Rodgers, it's not worth it. And I talked about it on last night's pod. I don't see the Jets designating him on June 1st. The June 1st designation would just split the money that they owe him over 2025 and 2026, whereas they just cut ties with him before, which is what I think they're going to lean towards. You take a slap in the face for 2025. You're going to be paying a little bit more. And then in 2026, you have no ties to Aaron Rodgers cap-wise. So I think the best option for the Jets is to cut ties as soon as possible. Do not make him a June 1st designation. Just don't. Quarterback-wise, we talked about it a little bit yesterday. I would go Justin Fields. You could get Kirk Cousins on a veteran minimum. You can get a guy like Daniel Jones, who I really like on the Jets. I like Daniel Jones and Justin Fields, two young guys who want to resurrect their careers, similar to how Sam Darnold, Geno Smith, and even Baker Mayfield did in the past few years. They're going to be motivated. They're going to want a big contract. So why not take a flyer on a cheap quarterback like a Justin Fields or like a Daniel Jones? Because Justin Fields and Daniel Jones, what can they do? They can move around. Justin Fields had over 1,100 rushing yards in 2022. He had 25 total touchdowns. Justin Fields just this past year went 4-2 with the Pittsburgh Steelers, had 10 total touchdowns with just one interception. Why not take a flyer on Justin Fields, who also played at Ohio State with Garrett Wilson? So there's a good relationship right there. You want to make Garrett Wilson happy? Go get his former college quarterback. Daniel Jones? I mean, yeah, but what did the Giants do? The Giants never got him a top receiver until this year, Malik Neighbors, and they never obviously got time to really build chemistry. So that they had a terrible offensive line, whereas the Jets sitting at number 7, they have a legitimate shot to land another great O-lineman, like a Will Campbell out of LSU. I would love Will Campbell. If Will Campbell's available at 7 and the Jets don't take him, I'll be pissed. Because then you have an O-line with 4 great young O-linemen. You'll have Will Campbell, Olu Fashanu at the tackles, Elijah Vera Tucker at the guard, and then Joe Tippmann. You just really need to find another guard. So, and maybe bring back Simpson. Why not? There's your O-line right there. There's Daniel Jones protection right there. There's Daniel Jones with Garrett Wilson and Breece Hall. We saw what Daniel Jones did with Saquon Barkley in 2022 when he had a great running back right next to him. He went to the playoffs, and he had a great playoff performance where he threw for over 300 yards against the Minnesota Vikings and got the Giants their first postseason win since 2012. So, and like I said before, he's going to want to prove to the NFL GMs, hey, I can still be a starter in this league. Kind of like what Geno did with the Seahawks. Kind of like what Baker did with the Bucks what Darnold did just this past year with the Vikings. And anybody who wants Sam Darnold, it's just not happening. Sam Darnold is going to get paid $40+ million a year. Whether it's a 2-year deal, a 3-year deal, a 4-year deal, Sam Darnold is going to make a lot of money. And the Jets cutting Aaron Rodgers before June 1st will not give them a lot of cap flexibility. Cutting ties with Devontae Adams, cutting ties with Allen Lazard will give him a little bit more, but it won't be enough to bring in a guy like Sam Darnold. It just won't. It won't. So kiss that pipe dream goodbye. I would love it, but we just can't afford it. So that's where I would lean towards Justin Fields, a Daniel Jones, or even a Kirk Cousins, who was mentioned today. Kirk Cousins, I mean, he would have to sign a veteran minimum because, let's be real, he's not going back to the Falcons. He's not. Michael Penix Jr. is going to be the starting quarterback for the Atlanta Falcons next year. But Kirk Cousins, I know what you want to say right now. Well, why would you trade? Well, not trade. Get another veteran who is coming off an Achilles injury just a year ago. Well, here's why. Kirk Cousins, he's much younger. He's 5 years younger than Aaron Rodgers. Kirk Cousins would still be able, like I said, he's going to sign that veteran minimum, so he won't cost us a lot of money. And he had 18 passing touchdowns last year. And just look at his year in 2023 before he went down. He was in 8 games. He had 16 passing touchdowns, so that's 2 passing touchdowns a game. He had 291.4 yards per game. I still think Kirk Cousins has another really good year left in him. In 2022, he threw for 4,547 yards with 29 touchdowns. So I'm not saying we're going to get that Kirk Cousins, but if we can get a Kirk Cousins that can throw for 4,000 plus yards, we can get a Kirk Cousins that can limit the turnovers. That would be great for Garrett. It would get us a winning season. I would say with Kirk Cousins, they could still be a playoff team next year. And I talked about it on last night's pod. The Jets have enough talent to be a playoff team. With Kirk Cousins, I think they really could be a playoff team, considering if they do draft an O-lineman at number 7, and they can still draft a quarterback in the second round like Jackson Dart or Jalen Milroe. And you have him sit for a year behind Kirk Cousins. And then you don't designate Aaron Rodgers for that June 1st designation. Then you have a lot of flexibility in the 2026 offseason. Whether you want to, give that young QB a shot, whether it's Jordan Travis if he develops a little bit better, whether it's a Jackson Dart or Jalen Milroe if they take one of them in the second round. Connor Hughes today, he said that he sees the Jets taking a quarterback in the middle rounds. We're hearing rumors that Woody Johnson is intrigued by some of these quarterbacks. Shadur Sanders and Cam Ward, very unlikely. Sitting at number 7, they would have to trade up, and I don't see the Jets trading up. But, you get a Will Campbell, then you have 4 very good young offensive linemen. 4 for 2025. You find one more, you shore up that offensive line, you add some depth there, you add some depth on the defensive side, and you bring in a guy like Kirk Cousins. I would say the ceiling for that team is a playoff appearance. Floor, I would say a winning season. And the Jets, when Aaron Glenn was hired, he basically let me know what I took away from it is they don't want to just punt for 2025. They don't want to punt. But they also don't want to punt 2026 by bringing Aaron Rodgers back and having a $60 million dead cap hit on Aaron Rodgers in 2026. Because then they'll have no cap flexibility next year. None whatsoever. So take that slap in the face this year. It was a great move to get rid of Aaron Rodgers, in my opinion. And you can still win. You can still win with a guy like Kirk Cousins on a veteran minimum. You can still potentially win. And I think Justin Fields has the best chance of becoming a franchise guy out of these young QBs with, guys that are going to be available. Even in the veterans, we're going to see Russell Wilson available. We're going to see Kirk Cousins available. Matthew Stafford reportedly on the trade block. Sam Darnold. He's probably obviously the franchise guy that you can sign. But Justin Fields at 25 years old, a guy who just 2 years ago had 25 total touchdowns, 1,100 rushing yards, he still has an opportunity to prove to the NFL that he can be a franchise caliber quarterback. So that's why I would say, take the risk on a Justin Fields. Take the risk. Why not? And you still have Tyrod Taylor there. So they could just draft a quarterback. They might not even sign a quarterback. Maybe they don't get Kirk Cousins. Maybe they don't get Justin Fields. Maybe they don't get Daniel Jones. And maybe they just draft the second-round quarterback and they have him sit behind Tyrod Taylor for a few games. Or maybe the full year. I still like Tyrod Taylor. I'm not saying he's going to take this team to the playoffs, but I still like him. I think he could win us a few games. So, and just speaking of Aaron Rodgers overall, like I see a lot of Jets fans, a lot of this Jets community just so upset and crying and whining, but it seems like they don't understand. They're like, oh, well, why are we punting the 2025 season? We're not bringing back Aaron Rodgers. He had 28 passing touchdowns. When's the last time a Jets quarterback had 28 passing touchdowns? Is Aaron Rodgers winning us a Super Bowl next year? No. If Aaron Rodgers comes back next year, can we have a winning season? Yes, but are we winning a Super Bowl? No, we are not. We're not. You can still build a culture. You can still build a winning culture with a guy like Kirk Cousins, Justin Fields, Daniel Jones, or even Tyrod Taylor and a rookie quarterback. You can still do that. And then you will have much more flexibility next offseason when guys like Garrett Wilson, guys like Sauce Gardner, who's even due for a new contract right now, like Jermaine Johnson, Breece Hall, Will McDonald in a few years, Elijah Vera Tucker. These are guys that are going to be due for new contracts. And if you want to bring them back and you bring Aaron Rodgers back, you won't be able to bring half those guys back. So, and also Garrett Wilson doesn't like Aaron Rodgers. A lot of players, yes, Quentin Williams likes Aaron Rodgers. Jermaine Johnson likes Aaron Rodgers. A lot of players, Breece Hall likes Aaron Rodgers. But in my opinion, I'd rather have Garrett Wilson locked up long-term than have Aaron Rodgers for one more year, in a year where we're definitely not winning the Super Bowl. We're not. The Aaron Rodgers era is over. It's over. Do you see the Jets with Aaron Rodgers getting past even the Cincinnati Bengals, who only had 9 wins this year? Do you see the Jets with Aaron Rodgers getting past the Kansas City Chiefs, the Baltimore Ravens, the Los Angeles Chargers, the Denver Broncos? Like, Aaron Rodgers, as great as I want to say he was as a Jets quarterback this year, it just makes no sense to bring him back to not win a Super Bowl and to have a $60 million dead cap charge in 2026. It makes zero sense whatsoever. You want to say we would punt 2025 without Aaron Rodgers? Well, we're punting 2026. We're probably punting 2027 and maybe even 2028 with Aaron Rodgers. Aaron Rodgers has not set this franchise back yet. But if you bring him back another year, then yes, he sets the franchise back officially. No doubt about it. And with Darren Moogie coming in as a brand new GM, with Aaron Glenn coming in as a brand new head coach, I can't blame them for not wanting to deal with the Aaron Rodgers show and potentially cost them their jobs. Because I don't care that you could say all you want that Aaron Rodgers, well, he cost Robert Saleh his job. He cost Joe, like for the Aaron Rodgers haters, you can say that all you want. Robert Saleh would not, he's not a good head coach. Maybe he could be down the line, but right now for the New York Jets, just this year, in the past few years, Robert Saleh was not a good head coach. He wasn't. Joe Douglas, you can make the case for, but at the same time, he has very good draft picks. But at the same time, what did we win with Joe Douglas? What did we win? And Joe Douglas was also the guy who hired Robert Saleh, who was a terrible head coach. So, bye-bye, Aaron Rodgers. It's over. After today's show, we're probably still going to talk about the Aaron Rodgers situation. But after today's pod, I'm going to say we aren't talking about Aaron Rodgers anymore. All right, Giants, Matthew Stafford, they hire his brother-in-law to be the quarterback coach. So now every Giant fan thinks that they're getting Matthew Stafford. I don't think they should get Matthew Stafford. I think it makes sense for them a little bit, only for Brian Dable and Joe Shane, because if they don't have a winning season next year, they're probably gone. Unless they develop, a Shedeur Sanders or a Cam Ward. But it seems like the Giants want to get what I see the Giants doing, to be honest. Even Connor Hughes said it. I see the Giants going after Shedeur Sanders in the draft and getting him at number 3 and just praying to God that he lands to them in number 3. And then maybe Russell Wilson. And then you don't have to, it's a battle between the both of them. Russell Wilson has wanted to play in New York for a long, long time. The Giants